Welcome, everyone. Today we're walking through the School Readiness SR program and the SR provider contract, what it requires, what it protects, and how to stay in full compliance while delivering high-quality care. The School Readiness Program helps families achieve financial self-sufficiency while ensuring children receive quality early learning experiences. Providers play a critical role in preparing children for success in school by delivering developmentally appropriate care and services. Program integrity is important in everything we do. We are to deliver child care assistance fairly and accurately. This means we comply with federal and state requirements. What is program integrity? Ensures the appropriate use of federal and state funding, including serving eligible families, contracting with eligible providers, minimizing waste, fraud, and abuse. Encompasses both intentional and unintentional errors. An example of an intentional error is fraud. An example of an unintentional error is a data entry mistake or incomplete documentation. Let's look at program integrity in more detail. There are 5 key elements. We'll begin with the 4 on this slide. How to assure program integrity. Fiscal management. Have processes for sound fiscal management. Fraud detection and prevention. Identify and address fraud. Improper payment reduction. Reduce these types of payments. Eligibility verification. Document and verify eligible children, providers, services, and payments. Remember that fraud is an intentional error. This could look like billing for children who don't exist or for always perfect attendance for every child. Improper payment might happen when there are incomplete documents. This could look like missing absence notes. And here's the 5th element of program integrity. Remember the slide, What is Program Integrity, a couple slides back? It said that appropriate use of funds is important, right? And how do we confirm that everyone is using funds appropriately? Through monitoring. Program integrity, including monitoring, happens at every level, local, state, and federal. Monitoring and oversight at the local level. Early learning coalitions monitor providers. At the state level, the Division of Early Learning monitors coalitions. And at the federal level, the Department of Health and Human Services monitors the Division of Early Learning. Monitoring includes desk and on-site reviews, quality assurance, and corrective action. We'll discuss this in more detail later during this orientation. Purpose of the SR contract. Agreement between the provider and its local early learning coalition, ELC. Ensures eligibility to participate in the School Readiness, SR, and SR Plus programs. Valid for 1 fiscal year. Covers the delivery of SR services to eligible children. The purpose of the SR contract is to formally outline the requirements, responsibilities, and standards that a provider must follow to participate in the SR program. Providers are eligible for reimbursement for SR services only after full contract execution and for the term of the contract. SR contracts are not transferable. A change in ownership requires execution of a new contract. As an SR provider, you are responsible for ensuring children receive safe, nurturing, and high-quality care. Accurate record keeping, collaboration with early learning coalitions, and clear communication with families are essential for program integrity and compliance and child success. The remainder of this orientation focuses on the SR provider contract. These laws and rules govern all provisions in the contract. They ensure consistent implementation statewide and aligned to federal regulations. They include Child Care and Development Fund 45 Code of Federal Regulations, Parts 98 and 99, Florida Statutes for the SR Program, Chapter 1002, Florida Statutes, Part 6, and SR Rules, Chapters 6M-4 and 6M-9 of the Florida Administrative Code. Here are the entities that qualify as either a private provider or a public school provider. These requirements ensure providers meet safety, integrity, and quality standards. They are non-negotiable. Your responsibilities fall into these major categories. We'll unpack each one so you know exactly what's expected. Please note, the topic of documentation covers attendance, copayment, and other reimbursement-related documentation, as well as SR child records. You can serve only children who have an active child care payment certificate. This protects you from providing child care services that will not be reimbursed. Note, a multi-site provider must serve SR children at the physical location or building authorized for care on the child care certificate. If you enroll a child without a certificate or with an invalid certificate, or enroll a child at a second location, but the certificate shows the first location, you will not be reimbursed. Child assessment is optional. Administer the assessment during the 3 assessment periods. Assess all eligible children aged birth to 5 years old who have been enrolled at the provider for at least 60 days. Maintain 75% teacher reliability. Notify the coalition within 5 business days of not meeting this threshold. Return to 75% reliability within 60 days. Providers may choose to conduct child assessments. The only permissible assessment tool is currently Teaching Strategies Gold, or TSG. Developmental screenings. These screenings help identify children who may need early intervention. They're a critical part of the SR program. Families are given the first opportunity to complete their children's developmental screenings. Coalitions and providers can support families with this process. If parents do not complete the developmental screening, it will be available for you to complete in the provider portal. Please partner with parents throughout this process. Program assessment. Earn a minimum composite score of 4.00. Request another observation at your own expense if you score below 4.00. If your new score is still below 4.00, you might be placed on a quality improvement plan, QIP, if you meet all of the requirements, or your contract will be terminated and your eligibility may be revoked. Coalitions observe 50% of classrooms for each care level to determine the composite score. Those classrooms are randomly selected. Instruction. Curriculum isn't optional. It ensures children receive consistent, developmentally appropriate instruction. Health and safety compliance is one of the most heavily monitored areas. It's essential for protecting children and your program. Discipline must always be developmentally appropriate and never punitive or harmful. Documentation. Accurate attendance is directly tied to reimbursement. It must be precise and timely. Reimbursement basics. You're reimbursed based on attendance, eligible absences, and approved rates. There are also additional payments for participation in specific programs. Providers caring for children with special needs may also receive additional payments. Differentials, contracted slots, programs that allow a provider to serve children in a specific location. Special needs requires submission of documentation reflecting A, the need for accommodations based on the special needs diagnosis, and B, completed training for instructional staff assigned to the child with special needs. Gold Seal requires documentation of a current Gold Seal designation from an accrediting agency. Quality Performance Incentive requires program assessment composite score of 5.00 or higher. Child Assessment requires completion of Teaching Strategies Gold 3 times a year and submission of child assessment data and teacher reliability documentation. Parent fees or copayments. You're required to collect the SR or SR Plus parent copayment identified on the payment certificate. Documenting the receipt of paid co-payments is important. Record keeping and confidentiality. Record maintenance and access to the SR Plus records are contractual requirements. Confidentiality is a legal requirement. Your staff must understand and follow these expectations. SR providers must notify coalitions when certain events occur, such as a change in ownership. Coalition notification is required 30 calendar days prior to the change in ownership. Change in contact or program information, for example, ages served, rate changes, operational hours, etc. The coalition must be notified within 14 calendar days. Child transfer to another location in the case of multiple locations. The coalition must be notified prior to changing location. Change in insurance. The coalition must be notified 10 calendar days prior. Changes to information on the SR application. The coalition must be notified within 14 calendar days. Temporary emergency closure. The coalition must receive initial notification on the first closure day and must receive notification of resumption within 2 business days. Permanent closure. The coalition must be notified 30 calendar days prior. Dismissal of SR children. The coalition must be notified within 14 calendar days. Request for a second program assessment. The coalition must be notified within 30 calendar days. Unusual incidents. The coalition must be notified no later than close of business the next day. They must receive the written report within 3 business days. Placed on the USDA disqualified list. The coalition must be notified within 5 calendar days. Convicted of public assistance fraud. The coalition must be notified within 5 calendar days. Child absences. The coalition must be notified by the 5th day of absence. At-risk children, or Ryla-Wilson Act, the coalition must be immediately notified with any unexcused absence. Reimbursement discrepancy, overpayment, or underpayment. The coalition must be notified within 60 calendar days. Coalition responsibilities and monitoring. Provide training and technical assistance. Does not require more than what is in the contract. Monitors for compliance. Accesses sites and records during business hours. Non-compliance and corrective action notice. Early Learning Coalition identifies the specific requirement the provider failed to meet, describes in detail the required corrective action, sets a deadline for completion, informs the provider of its right to request a review. Serious or repeated issues can lead to probation or termination.